Hi everyone, I'm Saurabh, your host for this podcast. This is our very first episode, and I'm so honored to have one of my all-time favorite photographer here with you today. Honestly, this person has been a huge inspiration for me, especially back when I was just getting started with wedding photography. Little background on me, I began my career as an editorial photographer in Dubai, and then we moved to New Zealand. It wasn't a big market, and I was a bit struggling to be fair. One of my colleagues approached me and said, "Hey, could you shoot our wedding?" At that point, I had never shot a wedding before, left alone, I've never been to a traditional white wedding. Naturally, I panicked and I turned on to YouTube for guidance. That's when I stumbled upon today's guest. His videos were like light in the dark for me. So, without any further ado, let me introduce Pye Jirsa. He's the co founder of Pye Jirsa Photography and SLR Lounge. Many of you probably already know him from his fantastic educational content. Pye, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Sarb. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Pa. I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. My hands are a little bit shaky. I can't believe this is happening. Having you as a guest on my first
Well, I'm
episode
glad to
is
be
a dream
the
come true
first
for
guest
me.
on your podcast for what is hopefully going to become a very big podcast.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you for taking the time. I've been dreaming of this podcast for a very long time, and finally it's happening. Now, before I dive in, let's start with your journey. So many photographers, including myself, have been inspired by you. Could you share how you transitioned into wedding photography and eventually started this incredible coaching business?
Boy, I'll let you ask whatever you'd like to know, but basically, photography for us was kind of an accident. We left our corporate jobs. I used to be a CPA for Ernst & Young. My business partners and I all were. And we kind of left looking to do a startup, and that startup failed. It was right during the 2008 recession. And so our funding got pulled for it, and we kind of said, well, what can we do to make ends meet to try to, to work on our next project? And the idea of wedding photography fell into our heads just because we were at a wedding and I saw someone shooting, and I asked, how much they were getting paid. And I think it was like they told me like $1,500, and I'm like, that's crazy, $1,500 for just a few hours of work. I had all the misconceptions you'd have, but it was that idea where I told Justin and Chris, like, let me do some more research on this. I went to WPPI that year, and after I got back, I kind of said, I don't really know what good photography is, because we never studied it. I didn't even own a camera. I just noticed that the people on the stage teaching, they tended to know business pretty well, and that people in the crowd, they didn't know business. And when I looked at the photographs, all of it looked good to me. Like, I couldn't tell the difference. I hadn't started the process of actually learning it yet. So when I came back, I told Justin and Chris, I said, I don't know what good photography is. I think we can learn that side, but I do know that the people teaching were the ones that understood business, and the people in the audience were the ones that were trying to learn business or didn't understand business. And I said, I think there's an opportunity here. And that's when we started to kind of explore it further and dive into it and pick up a camera and start learning. And basically 3 years later, we had a 7-figure photography studio. It was a whole bunch of, like, I say that like as if it wasn't a grind. It was 3 years of us grinding and learning. But after 3 years, Pye Jirsa Photography hit 7 figures, and a few years later, it was a multi-7-figure studio, and we've been doing it since. So it kind of became our thing.
Definitely. Your story resonates so much with me. When I first started watching your videos, my aim was to kind of learn photography, learn how to start a photography business. So, all your tutorials on camera and off camera lighting, how to position yourself when you're taking photograph. I learned a lot from there. After a lot of trial and error, in fact, I did a lot of mistakes, definitely. But after learning from those videos, I managed to get a hang of shooting weddings. But then I hit a wall. I think it's a common block with a lot of photographers. In fact, there are quite a few I know. We think photos will sell automatically.
Very common.
We are so good in our photos. Our photos are amazing. People will just come running to us to book us. But that's not how it works. And I learned it the hard way. There was a time not too far back where nothing was working for us. That's when we realized that we have to focus more onto the business aspect, more on the marketing of our skills. During that time, we did consult a lot of different agencies. In fact, I enrolled for one of your programs as well, which actually helped me a lot to structure my business, because that's what one thing I was missing in my business was the structure. I was good in taking photograph. I had good equipment.
Yeah.
I was getting a lot of bookings, but then it stopped because I didn't have a structure in my business. So it's very important for us to kind of know how the
Yeah.
business side of photography works. And your course, especially the previous one, not the 10K to 10K for 2K, but the one before, that has been really helpful. And recently, like I have been getting emails from you, your newsletters talking about the 10K for 2K program. And I think it's a game changer. It's
Yes.
really amazing. And a lot of the photographers who are starting into this industry, or, they are from different aspect of photography and now they want to run a successful wedding photography business, that will be really helpful for them. Could you talk us about what's this program is all about? Let's assume, like, I'm a new photographer and I'm setting up my business. How would this program help me into having a successful wedding photography business? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So basically, we built 10K 2K is our mentorship program, and I created that program just last year. We now have so just today actually, we have over 200 members now in the program, um, which is awesome because we haven't hit the 1 year mark yet. So our 1 year mark is going to be in March. And what I wanted to design was, I previously had a business course. I've actually done a few of them. I did a business course on Creative Live. I did a little bit more of a comprehensive one inside of SLR Lounge Premium. But what I realized from doing those courses was that photographers need more than just education. And truthfully, like, if you're just talking about knowledge, you can get that knowledge really anywhere, right? You can pick up a book, you can go to YouTube. There's a lot of places for just information. What photographers need more was not only a step-by-step guide that was like, you need to do this and not these things. These are the things to kind of like avoid. These are the things that are worth doing. They need that step-by-step guide, but then we also need accountability and guidance along the way. We need feedback. We need support. There's a lot of psychology along the way where, like, you can read something in a book, but or say, for example, like in the sales process, I could show you the sales process, and to the point where you're like, oh, I know how to do this, until you actually do a sale. And then you're like, holy shit, I just completely screwed this up. Like, I did not get any of this right. Sorry, can we curse every now and then? Is that
No,
okay?
definitely we
Okay.
can. I think all the people who are watching this podcast they are adults, and that's what adults do, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Your first episode. I apologize without even asking. But that's kind of like the difference is, you might understand a sales process, but it's a completely different thing actually doing it and then understanding the psychology of it for yourself as well as for the person sitting across from you. And to really understand these things, people need an environment where they can actually practice, where they can actually learn, where they can get feedback. So the mentorship program is that. It is the step-by-step program that's going to save people a ton of time. It's kind of like a fast track on exactly what you need to do to build a photography business. But more than that, it's the hand-holding elements, it's the accountability side, it's getting feedback, the community support. It's all the other pieces that are kind of missing with just like, when you try to kind of learn online.
No, you're definitely right. In fact, we do have another company, Get Leads 24/7, but we do the same for everyone. Like, it's not really targeted towards photographers. We help a lot of smaller businesses, and at a certain point, you have to kind of teach them how to sustain the business even without our services. It's very important. It's really very important. In fact, just last night when I was browsing through TikTok, that's what I normally do when I'm not doing anything. I literally saw at least 5 or 6 different advertisements, and they were like, if you're a wedding photographer
Correct.
and you're struggling, just click here, watch this video, and we can help you out. What makes your program different from those? Like, what's the speciality of your program as compared to any other marketing agency?
Different from, I mean,
Like, different from other agencies who consider themselves as like educational tutors or coaches.
yeah, it's interesting because trying to get leads is one of the bigger pain points that photographers have for sure. But there's so many ways that you can actually impact your business. Like, how about actually closing leads, like closing the ones that you have? Like if I can bring your closing percentage up, then that immediately makes a difference in your revenue. If I can, instead of booking, a $5,000 job, I show you, hey, that could be a $10,000 job or a $12,000 job, then I've doubled your income without changing anything. So we have a lot of experienced photographers that join the program. One of the examples that I often give is my friend Ning. Ning Wong has been operating a successful studio for over a decade, and he joined the program, and I was like, that means the world, because he didn't ask for a discount. He just joined as a friend. And 2 weeks later, he used the sales process that we gave him, and he's like, I just booked a $47,000 commercial client. And I was like, great job, dude. Like, you're just scratching the surface now. Let's go and push beyond that. And then a couple months later, he's like, I just booked an $80,000 commercial client. And now he's working on even larger contracts. And so this program is we designed it to be like a step-by-step process. But when people actually join in, I literally say in the intro module, if you already have a business, like if you're already running, then what I want you to do is to jump to the sales process, which is the last section of the course. So steps 12 through 16 is the sales process. I say jump straight there, because I can literally help you make more money like tomorrow if you just complete this section. Mm-hmm. Then let's go back to the beginning and make sure your foundational elements are all set up properly. So we have a lot of experienced people that come in, and right off the bat, they have huge wins on that side. Then we have people that are like, in the lead generation process, where they think the only way to generate leads is through Instagram, or they think the only way to generate leads is through paid ads. And I'm like, honestly, we built a multi-seven-figure studio. We've run it, Saurabh, for over a decade, about 15 years. And over a decade of that time, it was a multi-seven-figure studio. We never did paid ads. Not once did we ever run a paid ad. So there are so many ways to market and to get the word out on your business. And we often just don't know all these different steps. So you're asking, like, what is the difference? I would say the difference between what we're doing and what other coaches do is there's great coaches out there, don't get me wrong. But when someone's learning with us, we have over 8,000 client commissions worth of experience to be able to hand you. So we have a business that is actually a legitimate photography business that it's based off of. The dirty secret in the coaching space, not just the photography space, but the coaching space, is that usually what happens is someone will they land their first six-figure job, and they're like, I'm going to create a coaching business to teach people how to land a six-figure job. Or they have success, they get 10,000 followers. I'm going to teach people how to gain followers on Instagram because I got 10,000. But like they leverage one very small achievement and turn it into something much bigger than it is. And in the photography space, they do the same thing. The simple truth is that most photography educators actually make their money on education, not on photography. It's not with clients. So that's fine. They might still have something to teach, but it's completely different than working with a community and a leadership group that literally has been doing this for over a decade with a multi-seven-figure business, because we can actually speak from what works, what doesn't, and it's a very different experience, if that makes sense.
That's true. When I was stuck with getting these leads and getting clients, I researched internet, and I've approached quite a few people, agencies who promised to get me leads and stuff. But one thing they were missing was they have no idea what photography business is all about. Like it's a different game when you're talking about your couple. Like, they have a different set of emotions when they're talking to you during your consultation. And these agencies don't have any idea how to handle that. The objections they teach you how to overcome these objections are from a corporate point of view, but when it comes to photography, it's a different game. And only a photographer can understand those emotions, because that's what they do, that's what they're good at, right? And again, you have been such an inspiration, and there were quite a few articles and quite a few videos of yours which I saw, which made more sense to me than any of those agencies. And I follow you so much. I actually got tennis elbow because of one of your videos. You remember there was this video you made about the Canon RF 2870, the f2 version, the big hefty one. I saw your video and I bought that one. I was like, this is amazing. Pye's using it, I'm going to use it as well. And I got that, used it for a few months, and that particular lens is so front heavy that it gave me tennis elbow. I couldn't
use the only
use
downside of that lens
for long. Then I have to sell that and get smaller lenses. So that's how much I follow you. And then again, you guys have another partnership with the develop company, the Impossible thing. I saw your video and I was like, I should try this one. When I tried, it was a game changer. And for those who don't know what Impossible thing is, this is
editing. Will know about it soon.
It's more of a plugin, I would say, plugin for Lightroom, but it does the editing for you. It is mind blowing. You have some presets from some really big photographers who have partnered into it. In fact, Pye, you also have your own set of presets in there, which I really love, and it's a game changer. Like, it made my life so easy, especially when you're editing. You don't have to sit down, and I shoot a lot of South Asian weddings, and these weddings are big. They're like 4 days wedding, and you get around 4,000 photos to edit. Now, if in case I'm doing it manually, it will take me ages to finish that, but your software is amazing.
That's awesome.
It probably will do all the editing in about an hour, and then it will take a couple of hours for getting all the masks and everything sorted. And all you need to do is just sit. Once it's all edited, you have to sit, go through the photograph and make sure that they're all looking good. Maybe you need some minor tweaks, but most of it, 90% of the work is done by AI and your software. It's amazing. I think more of the photographers should use that, and it's really outstanding. All right, let's get back to the topic. Yes, it's very important for a photographer to have good experience, but not just experience. It's how you market yourself. I think that's more important. Like, I operate from Calgary, right? I shoot everywhere, but this is my home, and a major chunk of my work comes from Calgary itself. And I've seen a lot of photographers in the city. They are amazing when it comes to their work. Their photos are great. The colors, everything looks so good, but somehow they're not able to market themselves. And in video program, especially the 10K for 2K program, I think it's going to be a game changer for people who want to learn the business aspect of it, so they can take their businesses, take the photography to the next level.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, going back to that idea that you said earlier, basically that photographers think that the images are going to market themselves. I think that's a very common idea among photographers starting out. And I would have said, like, 5 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, if your work was exceptional, there might be a little bit of truth to it, where like you put things onto Instagram and it's just your photos are so good that you're growing and people are learning about you. But if you think about it, even 5 years ago, right? If you think about it from the standpoint of how good would your photographs need to be 5 years ago to basically market themselves? You're talking about like being the kind of, you're talking about being like unique amongst a crowd of unique people. Like, you're exceptional among the exceptional. It's not the top 1% of photographers. It's the top 0.01% of photographers. Those would have been the ones 5 years ago where their work is so good that it basically markets themselves, right? To try to achieve that, if you're starting out in photography, let's say you've been doing this for a few years, to try to break that 0.01% is virtually impossible. It's such a monumental task. It'd be like saying, like, look, I know you've never climbed a mountain before, but I want you to go and try to climb Everest for your first mountain. That's going to be your first achievement. It's virtually impossible unless you're a prodigy, unless you're someone that is just gifted. That would have been like, if that was the bar to succeed, then none of us would be able to succeed, right? Now, that was 5 years ago. Today, that bar is even higher. it's not Everest anymore. It's like literally trying to climb into space
Right.
because of the advent of AI. With AI, every single person now has the ability to create something exceptional, extraordinary, so much so that when we have become completely desensitized to everything that we see, right? Whatever we see, unless it's just that crazy, that out of this world, it doesn't draw our attention, and that bar has been raised that much higher today. So for someone to be creating imagery or even videos that just are that good that they market themselves, you're talking like I don't know, there might be 10 people, 20 people in this world within a specific industry that could do this. And that becomes a very stressful and daunting idea because it basically brings the bar of being a professional completely out of reach. But if I said, look, you don't actually need to be capturing that level of photographs. In fact, we can bring it back down. We're not even climbing Everest. Let's just bring it back down to good. If your imagery and your experience is good, it is good enough to be a professional experience, then all we need to do is understand marketing and business. And you can succeed despite having never climbed that mountain.
Right.
In fact, you can make substantially more money as a good photographer than most great photographers that I know. And the only difference there is understanding that like what I'm doing here is not just taking a photograph, it's designing an experience. And then marketing that experience to somebody, like to a particular audience. So now it brings that standard, that bar of success down to a level that's actually attainable. It's like, I can actually do this. And that's what I think good education, good programs they should do is they should make these very lofty goals into something that's actually attainable.
No, you're definitely right. Like 5 years ago, nobody actually knew about ads, or the ads were only for bigger corporations and stuff. Smaller businesses never, did ads and stuff like that. But you're right. You can have a decent quality, but if in case you're marketing yourself properly, you can achieve those heights like super easy. So that's definitely a good point.
Yes. A big part of that is, I think, because one of the things you mentioned earlier was that when people, again, photographers, we have a lot of misconceptions. One of them is the idea that people are hiring us for our photographs. And I would say that people are hiring you with the expectation that your photographs are good.
Right.
Like that's an expectation. They're hiring you because of you. So it's really the personal experience that you bring to it that is what makes it unique. And that's what differentiates you. That's what separates you from another photographer, is the personal experience. And that's something that they can't copy. I can't be Saurabh. Like you are Saurabh. The experience that you deliver is
definitely
yours. And similarly, you'd be hard pressed trying to be me. That's our unique competitive edge.
And that's actually pretty true. I've noticed this myself. Like for the past year and a half of doing weddings, and I, as a company, we shoot around 100 weddings, and most of them are, South Asian weddings. So multiply 100 by 4. That's how many shooting hours we have and days we have. For that year, I haven't been shooting much myself. I go there just to make sure that everyone's happy,
Be present.
everything is taken care of. My team is doing all the work anyways.
Yeah.
And I've been telling my clients, it's not about me shooting. It's about the team. It's about the relationship which I build with my client. I'll explain them, what, I'm there. I'm gonna be just editing a photograph because that's how I maintain the the consistency in the imagery. But I don't shoot much anymore myself. I'm just there to for my clients to know that everything is under control. They just want me to be around, so they are satisfied. Yes, Saurabh is here and he's gonna take care of all. If there is anything goes wrong, he's there to take care of it. So that's the relationship part, and that's how we have made that relationship with our clients. Okay, there was this question I wanted to ask, but I think I missed while we were talking. Let's assume there's a scenario. Let's assume it's me, right? I approach you and I ask you, hey, Pye, I want to enroll into your program, but I am not at that point where I can afford that program. Is there something you would like to tell this person or tell me, how to take care of this, how to, figure out how to invest, or should I just wait for the time when I have the money to kind of invest in your program? I know it's not that expensive, but for some it might be. So how would you, take care of this scenario?
Yeah, that's a funny one because there's a lot of things that I would say to it. As a thought, and this isn't what I would say to you. If you told me that, I wouldn't. I might actually say this, but I would say, Saurabh, isn't that idea a lot like I'll go to the gym once I'm in shape?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Right? Because the idea of like, well, I have a business program to teach you how to make money. But the caveat is that you need to have some money to join this. But it's a lot like that idea when people say, I'm going to join this once I get some clients. And I'm like, you're going to get some clients once you join this. Like
That's true.
It's the exact opposite. What tends to go on in our minds and what I would actually do is I would clarify. So Saurabh, you just said that right now you don't have the money. Tell me, do you feel like you maybe don't have the money like this is competing with rent? Or do you maybe feel like you might be prioritizing other things, like maybe buying camera gear?
That's right. I remember I think it was a month ago, we had a local pizzeria contact us and say, hey, you know what, could you do our social media marketing? And I was like, yeah, why not? So like, can you also create some content for us? I was like, yeah, definitely we can, because being a photographer, it's super easy. It's not that difficult. So I said, yeah, I gave him a quote, and he came back and he said, you know what, this is over my budget and this is a bit too expensive. Is it possible for you to like start the work, and when we start getting money, can we do that? And I told him, it's like, no, it's not going to happen that way. Because the thing is, you're right, he wasn't competing it with his rent, right?
Yes.
He had money, but he just didn't set his priorities right. It's important for you to kind of leave a bit of your income for your marketing, because that's very important. But for him, I told him, like, what, if in case you want to wait for a certain time just to make sure that you have enough money to get this marketing campaign running, you should start with the basics. Have your website, make sure that you're posting regularly on Instagram and Facebook and other social media platforms. And more important, I asked him to focus on his SEOs, because like when I did a Google search for that business, it was like maybe on a 6th or 7th page or even lower. I can't remember. It's very important to have, when people are searching you on Google, you should be on the first page. And I think I did see one of your videos where you were like put a lot of emphasis on SEO part of your website. So do you still have that as a part of your business program, the SEOs, or has that changed?
SEO is still a significant part of our business model, yeah. And that's still like if we're talking about marketing, I would say SEO is still 25% of your marketing plan. Like it should be a good piece of it.
So what are the other aspects of this model of yours?
I would say SEO is 25%. I would say your social media online presence is 25%. I would say your network, like referrals, collaborative networking, is 25%. And then usually I would kind of like leave that little extra 25% for like, what are the areas that you want to push deeper into? Like you can do paid ads if you want to do that. You could do newsletter. But the three staples to me, like that I feel like every business should be doing, are those three. It's SEO, it's social media, and then it's network. So collaborative marketing, basically, with other businesses.
I think, yes, they are the most important parts, yeah. So if somebody wants to join your program, are there any prerequisites you have? Like, you have to be at a certain stage in your career to join your program. Do you have any such criteria?
Yeah, I mean, what I like is it's more like I like to qualify, because the thing is that the program is designed, like I said, right when people come in, if they already have an existing business, I literally fast track them to the section that's going to make the most impact right away. But the funny part is that most of us that are established, we still have tons of foundational elements that are out of whack. It's just we've grinded our way to like make it work. And so after we get this sales process down, then we start back and we just kind of verify that all these pieces are in place. If someone has no business experience yet, then it's like, well, you might as well set things up starting with step one and just work your way through and do it correctly, right? So it's designed from that aspect, but it doesn't teach the creative side of photography. So we have a separate program for that. That's what SLR Lounge Premium was. It's a creative library to teach you all that. I like people to come into this already having a creative foundation. Like they can already generate good images. And granted, we do have some people that are very ambitious. They go, I want to learn the business side and the creative side simultaneously. And so they'll join both programs at the same time. But I always tell them, like, look, you can do that, but I want to be very clear that you need to be able to dedicate 10 to 20 hours a week to this. Like this has to be your full-time effort essentially for this to work, because you're trying to learn the creative side and the business side simultaneously. And you can do that. That's what we did, but it's going to be a lot of time. So what I generally say is, like, if you're coming into this with decent camera skills, like don't have to be creating the best of the best images, but you can do something good with your camera, then 2-3 hours a week is what I expect you to spend at a minimum implementing the coursework. I like it to be 1 hour a day, but 2-3 hours a week is kind of the minimum. But I kind of come at it from that standpoint of like expectation, as opposed to saying like, you know, you can't do something. It's more like, well, you can. It's just it's gonna require this amount of effort.
So okay, so we're coming towards the end of the podcast, but I just wanted to ask you: do you have any particular advice for, let's say, newer photographers who want to get into wedding photography industry? So do you have anything you would like to advise them?
I would say choose one of the things that I talk about a lot, especially like step one of my mentorship, is like making sure you've niched down to the right niche, the one that fits the things that you value. I think oftentimes photographers will jump into a niche without proper consideration of the things that they actually value. What they do instead is they think of where they can make money. And what tends to happen is that before you're ever making good money in that space, you've burned out because you selected something that isn't in alignment with who you are or what you value. And so before they reach that level of success, they're like, I can't do this anymore. I don't like doing this. And they end up quitting. So it's kind of like starting with something that aligns with who you are and what you value.
That's true. Like I think a couple of years ago, we had this member in our team, and he was a landscape and portrait photographer, and he wanted to do wedding photography. So we hired him, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But again, they have a different approach to photography when it comes to taking photograph as compared to wedding photography. Where
very different approach.
Faster pace. It was a Sikh wedding, and we had this part where a couple is sitting on the stage, and then the whole families will come one by one. All the guests will come one by one, and they will bless the couple and take some photos with them. So there's a whole long queue, and this guy is taking his time. So we had to like go and tell him, like, dude, don't worry about it right now. Mm-hmm. We don't have to worry about the posing and stuff. Just make sure they're standing, looking at the camera, their eyes are open, and they're in a kind of a symmetry, right? That's all we need right now, and you have to be very fast. You can't take 5 minutes per shot.
Taking his time.
Otherwise, everyone's
getting it all right.
It's a higher pace when it comes to wedding photography, and not everyone can handle it. And again, if in case you're not meant to be you don't have that pace or that approach, then it's going to be really hard for you to kind of be a wedding photographer. And like if it's landscape, I know you can take your time, frame your shots properly, wait for a particular hour to get the perfect shot. But in wedding photography, it's
chaotic.
It's chaotic. It's everyone's so restless, especially like the one I do. It's like sometimes really crazy.
Yeah, and to that idea, it's like those that are great with weddings, they generally tend to thrive in chaos. It's kind of like it's part of who they are. And so they find comfort in those spaces. I'm the exact opposite of the landscape photographer. So I know exactly what you mean because I went with one of my friends to photograph, like he's a landscape photographer. And I went with him to be like, let's go and see what this is like. And I enjoy outdoors and hiking and nature. But then we just got to this spot and he's like, okay, now we just wait for the light. And I kid you not, like we were just waiting there for like 2 hours. I was like, well, when do you like it looks good right now? He's like, no, we got to wait for like that perfect light between sunset and dusk. And I'm like, okay, well, we got here like an hour and a half early. He's like, yeah, we're just going to wait. And when it's right, we're going to take the shot. And I was going insane. I'm like, dude, I don't want to sit here for the next 90 minutes. And I'm sitting here walking back and forth. He just has his tripod set down and he's just lining up his shot for 20 minutes. And then he just sits there and he's like meditating and like journaling. And I'm like, dude, I've taken 20 shots. All of them are good enough. I want to move on.
It happened with me. I was doing videos for this particular couple,
Yes.
and they already had a photographer. So they wanted us to go to one of the mountains in Banff and go up the hill and then take some photograph. And it was like almost like a 6-hour hike to the mountain. So I was already tired. And then we went up there, and the couple wanted golden hour shoot. So we were just waiting. We were just waiting there, and I went to the couple. I was like, "Hey, you know what? I have an idea." And that time I remember I saw one of your videos where you created the sunset, right? You put a light behind the couple with the CTO on it,
Yeah.
and you showed how to create sunset photograph when it's not even a sunset or a golden hour. So I did the same. I had a light in my bag. I took the light out, put a CTO gel on it, and created that kind of light when it's associated with golden hour. I took the shot. I needed a few. I took them, and then I
Yeah.
just came down.
Yeah.
And after I think a few hours, I get a phone call from, not hours, I think it was the next day when I got a call from the couple and say, "Hey, you know what? Did you take any photo as well, or you just took some videos?" I was like, "I was doing videos, but I did take a few photos just for the thumbnails and stuff." And then she said, "Can you share it with us?" I was like, "What happened to yours? What happened?" So like when we were waiting for the sunset, the golden hour, it became cloudy, and we technically didn't get a golden hour. So yeah, I personally I think I don't have that temperament or that patience to be a landscape photographer. It's a bit too slow. I like the fast pace of being a wedding photographer. I love the speed. I love taking decision, spontaneously, and it's
Yeah.
something different. It's like
Yeah.
it's hard to explain, but I think I can't do anything else. I'm better off being a wedding photographer than any other photographer.
Well, yeah, the personality for wedding photography is kind of like, I'm going to take whatever I'm given and I'm going to make it work. And it's also why I believe that I've done a lot of different genres of photography, and I have a lot of friends in different spaces. I firmly believe that wedding photographers are the strongest photographers across the board, because they might not, if I take one of my commercial friends and I show the caliber of work on a single image, that might be higher than like the wedding photographer's portfolio. But if I said, okay, I'm going to put the two of you in a space where you got to create 10 different shots in 30 minutes, I would put my money every single time on the wedding photographer that they're going to get better images over the course of those 30 minutes. So this is kind of the part where it's important to understand like your personality type. Like, do you have the personality type that fits newborn photography? Because that's very different too.
I can't do that.
I can't do newborn either. Like, do you enjoy boudoir photography? That's very different too. That's speaking to an emotional standpoint, speaking to somebody's confidence and helping empower. All of these different genres, they tap into a different set of values and a different personality. We have to be aware of that before we choose. Because if we're choosing for the money, then we never get to that place where we see that money. And if we do happen to luck our way into it, it doesn't matter because we burn out within a few years.
Yeah, you're right. Not everyone can do wedding photography, and it's the same the other way around. Like wedding photographers can't do any other field of photography. They can, but not as good as probably doing weddings.
Totally. The second piece of advice is literally what I say in every single email that I send out. So I always say, remember that good quality education is an investment that always pays dividends. I'm the kind of person that like, I study nonstop. So I love learning. I will learn from anybody. If I feel like someone has something to teach, I like learning. And if I see a great program that can fast track my ability to do something that I want to do, to gain a skill set, I always invest. It's one of those ways that like, if I can take someone else's experiences, like if I go, I want to do Facebook ads, let's say, rather than me just trying to piece together an education on this, because I could go onto YouTube and I could type how to do Facebook ads, or I could find the person that does Facebook ads better than anybody. And I can say, do you have a course? And if you don't have a course, what if I just hired you to be a consultant with me? And maybe it cost me $500 an hour, But for 5 hours, I can have this person teach me everything they know. And for $2,500, I just learned everything that I needed within a 1 day period. And now I can actually go and implement. And to me, that's always been kind of like a superpower to me that most people don't take advantage of, is like, if you can pay somebody to learn through their mistakes and their efforts, you literally have fast tracked the process, not by like 5 times or 10 times, but you've taken oftentimes 10 years of experience and condensed it into like a month or two of like learning curve. Whenever you can do that, you can make monumental leaps in your career and in your business.
That's so true. The way things are changing these days, the newer technology, the new way of doing things, you have to be on top of that. A few years ago, I enrolled myself for how to manage and have your own CRM system where you can put all your clients in, so it's more streamlined for you, where you can actually see all the leads and all the scheduled calls. If in case you have any tasks you want to allocate to any of your customers, you can just put it over there, and it's all in one space. And it's very important to know that, otherwise, before that, I was going on different platforms to make sure that I have contacted all my clients. And I was definitely missing a few things, but it's very important to kind of learn newer technology, like newer things, newer technology. Not just that, even styles. I've seen photographers, like we had a workshop a couple of years ago where we took a whole bunch of photographers to Banff, and we showed them how to do posing and stuff with when it comes to wedding photography. And I was surprised. I thought it'll be all new photographers, but we had half of them were like already seasoned photographers. They were been doing weddings for a very long time. And I asked one of these guys, because I know this person. I spoke with him. I was like, why are you here? He was like, nothing. I have a certain style, and I like yours. And I've seen like a lot of couples, they're actually more inclined towards what you do, right? So I wanted to learn and update myself, which was like, that's really good. And even after that, me personally, I have been watching a lot of tutorials, a lot of different ways of changing my style. Now, at this point, I don't have a style, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like I've done 80 photos, I've done moody, I've done documentary style. All now, I just want to learn newer styles. And again, if there's a client who wants particular style for imagery, I can do that because I've already learned that style. So it's very important to kind of keep yourself updated when it comes to styles, technology, newer ways of doing things, I guess.
Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. I heard a friend of mine once said, he's like, I just want to get this thing. He had a product that he was developing. He's like, I just want to get this thing up and done, and it'll just sell on its own. Like, he's like, once I have this done and this funnel everything is in place, it's just going to keep selling on its own. And I think that's going to be amazing because it'll be passive income. And I said, the more I do business, the more I feel like there really is no such thing as passive income. There is income that is less passive and income that is, more passive. But let's say, like, what would be the idea of the most passive income? Like writing a book and then maybe selling a book, right? Or something along those lines. It's a $10 item that you will just call it a book, but you put it out and then it starts selling. But I'm like, is that really passive? Because for that book to actually sell, you might be done writing the book, but you would need to continually market it. And then it's, how are you going to market it? Are you going to choose to market it through Facebook ads? Are you going to market it through Instagram and social media? Are you going to market it through a newsletter? Whatever avenue you choose, you still have to continue that avenue. And maybe you say, well, I'm going to do Facebook ads, and that'll be very passive because I can just, once I have an ad that's working, then I just let it go. And I'm like, but that's not how Facebook ads works. Once you have an ad that's working, you have to test different iterations of it. And eventually that ad will actually, the ad will actually get old. It'll be, you need new media, you need new processes. And so there is no part of it that is truly completely passive. Even if you talk about like real estate, it's like, well, if you're managing real estate, you still have to manage something. Like,
yeah, that's right. It's not just the marketing part. I think it's the product itself. It's never passive. Like you have that impossible thing, the plugin for Lightroom, which is like one of my favorite tools, right? I think ever since I have joined that program or got that program, I was one of the founder, buyers. So
Yeah.
we have you had an
It's
offer.
an insane idea.
Since then, I think you guys have updated that almost 4 different times. So there have been 4 different big updates to that software. Now, after that particular program was launched, I think there
Yep.
were a few others like Imogen came up with theirs, and Aftershoot. Earlier, there used to be just the culling software, but now they have the
Yeah.
editing aspect to it as well. But you still have to update that particular. You think it's a passive
Yeah.
income, like I've
It's
made
a
that
constant
software now.
process.
I'm just gonna sit and make money out of it. It's not like that. You still have to like make sure that you know your product, you know your market, you know your competition. So you have to keep updating the software itself or the product
Yeah,
itself.
which kind of goes back to, again, my first point and my first suggestion is knowing that there's nothing truly passive. Pick the thing that aligns with what you value, because you're going to spend your time there. You have to spend your time there. So let's make sure that you can do that long term and make sure it's sustainable.
That's right. My team member actually had a question when I told him that you were coming to the podcast, and I'll be talking to you. So he had a question. He asked me. In fact, I think he read it on your website that you have a huge team of shooters, and he asked me to ask you, how do you manage those shooters, or how do you manage that big team?
Photographers are challenging to manage. So that's a very loaded question, because there's a lot of elements that I would say go into managing a team. There's a set of, like, just kind of how we're talking about, like these values that you use to choose a niche. When you start building a team, those values have to be front and center of your business. Like it has to be values that everybody understands, and it's basically tone from the top that you're setting. And you start developing a culture around those values. So the easiest way to manage a team is to develop those values and a culture around it, to the point where you can hire the right people who understand the value sets and put the right key stakeholders in place, and not have to micromanage. If you're having to manage on an individual level, that means that, one, we very likely don't know our values and we just hired somebody because we needed someone to fit a role. And two, we might have hired the wrong person. And so actually going to like management level is something where I would always want to dive deeper before I'm like giving advice.
No, that's really true. Like I learned this. It took me a while to kind of understand this. Made another team in Calgary. So the first few teams which we like, or the members we had in the team, did not kind of resonate. They didn't resonate with my beliefs and the way I wanted them to do things. But then, we had a few R&R sessions where we kind of worked with them. We spoke with them and told them, this is what I want, and this is how I want you to do things. Or take care of my business when you're representing me at a wedding. And ever since then, it's been really nice.
Yeah.
Now we have 2 teams, in fact, 3 teams in Calgary, 1 in Edmonton, 1 in Vancouver. And now from this year, we started 2 new teams, 1 in Sacramento as well as in Houston. And that's what things are doing pretty well. They're working the way I wanted them to work. Actually, that idea of having multiple teams, I got it from you. Having a team.
Which one? The
The idea of having a big team. I remember when I moved to Canada, I was shooting 1 wedding a week. That's it. But the amount of profit I was making wasn't enough for me to sustain my dreams and what I wanted to do. So, and I saw your website, and you've mentioned that time that this is a particular rate when you hire my associate team, and then this is the rate when you hire me as a main photographer. And that clicked me. I said, you know what, we should do that as well. We should have multiple teams so we can do multiple weddings in a week and make more profit. And it actually works.
Yeah.
Now we can handle 4 to 5 different weddings on the same day, and we're making good amount out of that as well. So that's something which I got from you, and I'm really happy I actually saw your video on that too.
So it's a lot, and again, everybody needs to build a business that suits them, right? We have 3 partners in our business, and so Justin is our kind of scalings and operations CEO. He kind of that's his area. My area is creative development. So it's helping make sure that everybody's properly educated from photography to sales to each of the different, avenues that we do. And Chris's role was primarily marketing. It's let's get more eyeballs on everything that we're doing. So we kind of each specialized in these different areas. And I kind of crossed over a lot because I had to develop the education for each of these different arenas. So it's kind of like I had the opportunity to become kind of a little bit of a specialist in all the areas. Not to the extent of Justin or Chris, because that's literally what they did full time. But you're building a different type of business at that point. When you have associates, now it's most of your time is not photography, it's management. So people have to understand that when they go about this and they go, hey, Pye, I want to build an associate model. I go, well, hey, does that align with the things that you want to do? Because if you love shooting, that's going to take you away from it. If you want to manage, then that's the way to go. You can make great money doing either, but the path to get there is different. We got to choose the path that fits you. To give you an idea, on our busiest weekends, we at one point could shoot, we at one point shot, I think the number was 17 weddings on a day.
Wow.
So we had, now we're around a team of about 20, 25-ish in the studio. But at one point we were close to 50. And so we had to get to a place where, again, all of the partners now, we have kids. I've got 4 kids. Justin's got 4 kids. Chris has 3 kids. And it's like...
And you have a dog too.
What's that?
And you have a dog too.
I have a dog too.
That's all the video
and so
of the dog.
we got to a place where now we need to scale back the business to suit our current values, because values shift over time. Like the things that what you want to achieve, it changes over time. And so it's important to understand who you are and to build your business around that, because there's nothing wrong with going associates. There's nothing wrong with being a solo studio. There's nothing wrong with doing IPS. There's nothing wrong with doing, digitals. It's just each of these different models and the niches fits a certain type of person and value set.
That's right. That's right. In fact, I am at that stage where I'm actually moving myself away from doing everything. Like we recently hired a full-time editor, and then we have another team who does our marketing, and we have assistants who take care of, replying back to the emails and all the comments and texts. So at least that will give me some time to, enjoy things which I like, other than shooting, of course. But I think it was very important for me to take the decision and have myself more into the managing part, wherein earlier I was just doing everything myself. And that's how I got time to make this podcast and the platform, the classroom. Totally. I wanted to kind of help other photographers learn from the mistakes I did, and I made a lot of mistakes when running this business, and I wanted everyone to kind of learn from them instead of doing those mistakes themselves and then learning it the hard way. I want that kind of Absolutely. Openness, and in fact the same openness is something I see in your videos. I remember there was this video of you showing how to take photos in a boring location, and there was you had a female model and you were taking some photos in the bush, and I was like, man, this is not a good spot. I always thought you need to take your clients to a very nicer kind of a spot where you can take some nice photographs, but you made her sit in a bush, took a photograph, and it looked so amazing. And then you had another one, I think, in the parking lot. The parking lot one.
The parking lot.
There was another one in the parking lot where you literally put a light with a CTO behind the couple in a parking lot, and it looks like it's somewhere really fancy. So that's the kind of openness I wanted to have in my podcast, and I really appreciate you. And I really wanted these videos or these podcasts to be the way you make things, right? So of course, thank you very much for being a part of this particular podcast.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I was shocked when I got the reply to the email which I sent. I was sitting on that email for over a month. And then I'm going to send that email. I did send that email, and you did reply to it. So thank you very much. And I'm really happy that you are the first guest on this particular podcast.
Well, it was a great email. I usually tell people once you hit your 100th episode, then I'll join. I just say, let me know when you get to 100 episodes, and I'd love to be a part of it. But you wrote a great email. It was very heartfelt, and you had a plan for your podcast, which is unusual. Most people don't have plans. And so, I appreciated that, and I wanted to jump in on it.
Now, you actually have set the bar really high, and I have to make sure that I have more people like you coming onto our podcast and make this more, educational for all our viewers. So thank you very much for your time, and you have a good day. See ya.
Well, I appreciate that, Saurabh. It's been great chatting with you, man.